Something terrible is happening on the border between Bavaria and Tyrol. A mountain that has stood strong for thousands of years is starting to break. At its very top, a massive crack is ripping through solid rock, splitting the mountain in two. What once seemed unbreakable is now falling apart before our eyes. So what's causing this collapse? What unseen forces are tearing the mountain from the inside? Stay with us as we uncover the shocking secrets of the Hochvogel Mountains, nature's giant. Towering over the Allgäu Alps, Hochvogel climbs to nearly 2,600 meters and commands everything around it. From a distance, it appears strong and unchanging, like it has always been there and always will be. But when scientists took a closer look, they found a troubling truth. This mountain is not as stable as it seems. Hochvogel is gradually splitting from within. Right across its summit, a deep crack has formed. This fracture splits the peak into two massive sections. It is already about 5 meters wide and stretches roughly 30 meters long. Even more worrying, it continues to move. Every month, the gap widens by up to half a centimeter. That might sound small, but over time it adds up. And in the world of mountains, slow movement can lead to sudden disaster. Hochvogel sits directly on the national border between Bavaria, Germany, and Tyrol, Austria. Though it is only the 13th highest peak in the Allgäu Alps, it stands alone in the eastern part of the range. Nearby mountains are much lower, making Hochvogel stand out dramatically. Its sharp shape, steep faces, and exposed summits have long attracted experienced climbers, but the same features that make it beautiful also make it fragile. The mountain is made mostly of dolomite rock. Known for being brittle, this rock breaks more easily than harder rock types like granite. Over thousands of years, wind, ice, water, and gravity have slowly eaten away at Hochvogel. This erosion carved a natural cleft into the summit. Today, that cleft has become one of the most closely watched cracks in the Alps. Scientists worry that one day a large section of Hochvogel's summit could give way. If that happens, up to 260,000 cubic meters of rock could tumble down, triggering a massive rock slide capable of reshaping the mountain's slope and putting trails below at serious risk. Smaller rockfalls have already occurred, proving the threat is real. And because the summit is increasingly unstable, the danger of falling rocks is great. Some paths, like the Bäumenheimer Weg, have already been closed. Authorities and researchers work together to manage the risk. If their measurements indicate a bigger collapse might be imminent, they can close routes early, keeping hikers and climbers safe. Despite the hazards, Hochvogel is a vital site for research. Its unstable summit provides scientists with a rare natural lab. Studying it helps them understand not just this mountain, but how other alpine peaks might respond as the climate warms. Rising temperatures reduce the amount of permanent ice inside mountains. That ice once acted like a glue, keeping cracks stable. As it melts, rocks become looser and more prone to collapse. Hochvogel may be showing a preview of what could happen to many high peaks across the Alps and beyond. The mountain's isolated position makes it even more valuable for study. Standing alone in the eastern Allgäu Alps, without other peaks of similar height nearby, its shape and structure are easier to observe. Two marked routes still lead to the summit, but climbers must approach with caution and respect for the dangers. Hochvogel reminds us that mountains may seem eternal, but they change, they crack, shift, and sometimes fall. And while the threat is real, scientists now have ways to watch and monitor these slow, powerful movements. But can they truly keep a close marking? How exactly do they monitor the mountain? Cracking the code. To understand what's happening deep inside Hochvogel, researchers are turning to sound, not the kind we can hear, but tiny vibrations traveling through the rock itself. A team of scientists, including seismologists, has begun using what they call the seismic method. This allows them to listen to the mountain as it slowly cracks, shifts, and groans under pressure. Michael Dietze, a researcher at the GFZ Helmholtz Center in Potsdam and one of the project's lead scientists, explains that this technique lets them observe the mountain almost in real time. For the first time, they can continuously record how stress builds up inside the rock and how it releases again. During the summer of 2018, the sensors revealed a clear and repeating pattern. Over 5 to 7 days, the tiny vibrations increased steadily in frequency. Then within just 2 days, they dropped back down, and the cycle repeated itself over and over. The rising frequency showed the rock was under stress, squeezed and strained, much like a stick bent to the breaking point. When the frequency dropped, the sensors recorded the crackling sounds of rock actually breaking. In simple terms, the mountain tightens, cracks, and tightens again. Scientists call this repeating sequence the mountain's seismic melody. By understanding this melody, they can identify when Hochvogel is under increasing stress and when a larger collapse might be starting. The mountain itself becomes a warning system. This monitoring is especially important because Hochvogel is a popular climbing destination. Hikers usually start at the Prinz Luitpold house on the German side, crossing snowfields and exposed ridges, moving through areas like the Balkenscharte and Kalter Winkel. Some parts demand climbing experience and caution around loose rock. As stress grows, the frequency rises slowly. When the rock cracks and releases pressure, the frequency drops sharply. This cycle repeats. The key is timing. As the cycles shorten, it signals the mountain is approaching a larger break. The internal rhythm speeds up as danger nears, but listening alone isn't enough. The team combines multiple tools to understand the mountain fully. GPS sensors measure even millimeter-scale movements. Inclinometers track the slow tilting of rock faces. High-resolution laser scans and photogrammetry create detailed three-dimensional digital twins of the summit, allowing scientists to see how cracks grow and blocks shift over weeks and months. Drones capture images of areas too dangerous to reach on foot, mapping unstable zones and tracking subtle changes. Acoustic sensors record the faintest sounds of rock tearing deep inside, whispering of a collapse long before it becomes visible. By piecing together all this data, researchers can see inside Hochvogel, reading its internal state in real time. This seismic approach is changing how scientists understand mountain collapses. Instead of reacting after disaster strikes, they can now anticipate it. Trails can be closed, huts evacuated, and climbers warned, sometimes days in advance. Even small warnings can save lives. Hochvogel may one day collapse. That risk cannot be eliminated. But with this monitoring, it doesn't have to happen without warning. In many ways, Hochvogel is a messenger from the Alps. As climate change melts frozen rock and speeds erosion, mountain failures like this may become more common. What scientists learn here could help protect people across mountain regions worldwide. This mountain isn't quiet. It talks in subtle shakes, tiny shifts, and soft groans. And now, for the first time, we're really starting to hear it. But has it ever tried to warn us before? And if it did we just choose not to listen? What secrets lie deeper inside, waiting to be revealed next? The warnings we ignored. For more than 100 years, Hochvogel has been quietly sending messages. This mountain, standing tall in the Alps, has never been completely stable. Long before modern science arrived, climbers and early explorers noticed deep cracks near its summit. Old photographs show lines of erosion running down its slopes, lines that never stopped growing. Back then, these signs were slow, almost unnoticeable. But today, the story is different. The mountain is moving faster, and every change can now be measured. Hochvogel is in the midst of a serious summit collapse. At the very top, a massive crack has formed, splitting the peak into huge blocks of rock. Each month, this rift widens by several millimeters, a steady signal that the mountain is struggling under its own weight. Alongside this central fissure, rockfalls have become frequent. Small stones tumble down daily, and larger sections collapse every few years. Using drones, high-resolution cameras, and sensitive seismometers, scientists track each fall, building a picture of how the mountain is slowly failing. But why is Hochvogel breaking apart? The answer lies deep inside the rock itself. The mountain is made of fractured, weathered stone, full of tiny cracks. Water seeps into these cracks, freezing overnight and expanding, then melting during the day. Over time, this freeze-thaw cycle acts like a wedge, prying the rock apart bit by bit. Even more critical is the role of permafrost, the frozen ground that once locked the mountain together. For centuries, this ice acted like glue, holding massive rocks in place. But with rising temperatures, that frozen support is melting. As the permafrost degrades, once stable cracks begin to move. Entire blocks of stone lose their grip, and gravity takes over. Hochvogel has a long history of collapses. In 1953, part of its southwest face failed, sending thousands of cubic meters of rock tumbling into the valley below. Similar events followed in 2005, 2008, and later years. Each collapse revealed hidden weaknesses, slowly peeling back the mountain's strength layer by layer. What is happening now is different and more alarming. The current fissure is larger than anything seen before, deeper, wider, and cutting through the very heart of the summit. When a crack reaches this size, the surrounding rock becomes fragile. Stress moves into nearby areas. New cracks form, and one collapse can trigger the next. Scientists call this a cascading failure. It's a dangerous chain reaction where each fracture makes the next more likely. Because of this growing threat, Hochvogel is now one of the most closely monitored mountains in the Alps. Modern observation began in the late 2010s, when researchers started listening to what they call the mountain's melody. During the day, rock expands as it warms, and at night, it contracts as temperatures drop. Over months and years, these expansions and contractions create cycles of stress and release. By tracking these subtle rhythms, scientists hope to detect the first signs of a major collapse. Even with these tools, a big question remains. How will Hochvogel fail? Will it crumble slowly, letting rock fall in stages over many years? Or could it suddenly give way, releasing a massive landslide? Both are possible. While towns are far enough to avoid being buried, hiking paths, mountain huts, and access trails are already at risk. Many routes have been closed to keep visitors safe. The Alps have already shown how quickly things can change. Near the Swiss village of Brienz, a slope once thought stable began creeping forward at a slow pace, just 1 centimeter a day. Then, almost without warning, it accelerated to 1 centimeter per hour. That small change in speed was enough to trigger a massive collapse, forcing an entire village to evacuate. For scientists watching Hochvogel, that story is a warning. Movement alone is not the danger. Change in movement is. When a mountain starts to accelerate, even slightly, failure could be near. Right now, Hochvogel is still active. The crack continues to widen. Rockfalls keep happening. The mountain has not yet settled. Every tiny movement, every falling stone, is a message, a reminder that even the largest, most solid peaks are not eternal. Standing above its neighbors, Hochvogel has become more than just a mountain. It is a natural warning system. By listening carefully to its vibrations and monitoring its shifts, scientists are not only protecting people today, but also learning how other mountains in the Alps and around the world may behave in a warming climate. This story is not just about one mountain. It is a glimpse into the future of high peaks everywhere. Solid rock, which may seem unchanging and permanent, is slowly reaching its breaking point. And as glaciers melt and permafrost disappears, these natural giants are becoming more unpredictable. Hochvogel is teaching us a lesson. Even the mountains can speak, if we take the time to listen. What will happen next? Will the mountain crumble piece by piece over decades, or could a sudden collapse reshape the summit overnight? Scientists will continue to watch, to listen, and to measure. Every shift, every crack, brings new information about the life hidden inside the stone. And for those who dare to climb or explore, Hochvogel stands as a powerful reminder. Nature is patient, but it is also relentless. As the sun rises over the Alps and light spills across the jagged peaks, Hochvogel quietly continues its slow transformation. It creaks and groans under its own weight. Tiny stones fall, massive blocks teeter, and through it all, it speaks to us, telling a story written in rock, ice, and time. A story of pressure, decay, and the unstoppable force of gravity. A story that reminds humanity that even the mightiest mountains are not invincible. By watching Hochvogel, we're not just learning the story of one mountain. We're catching a glimpse of what many mountains may face in a world that's changing faster than ever. Every new crack, every falling rock, teaches us something about time, danger, and the power of nature. As scientists keep tracking, measuring, and listening, one clear message stands out. Mountains, like people, have their breaking points, and sometimes those breaking points are closer than we expect. But with all these warning signs, one question still hangs in the air. Could Hochvogel collapse without any final warning at all? The idea that Hochvogel could collapse without any last warning concerns both researchers and people on the trails. And the truth is this: while it can happen, it is unlikely that the mountain would fail without giving off any warning signs first. These changes tell researchers that the mountain is under stress and slowly pulling itself apart. However, nature does not always follow a clear script. If that happened, the collapse could occur with very little time to react. There might not be a dramatic final crack or a long buildup that people can see with their eyes. Instead, a section of rock could suddenly give way once the pressure becomes too much. This is why scientists never say the risk is zero. Still, despite the risks, Hochvogel remains one of the most visited mountains in the world. So why do people keep coming? What pulls them toward a place that could turn dangerous at any moment? Chasing danger. People are drawn to Hochvogel for one simple reason at first glance: it is impossible to ignore. Rising sharply above the surrounding valleys, the mountain has a dramatic, almost perfect pyramid shape. Because of this striking form, it is often called the Matterhorn of the Allgäu. From a distance, it looks powerful, solid, and timeless. For many, that image alone is reason enough to visit. But Hochvogel offers more than just a beautiful silhouette. For hikers and climbers who make the effort to reach its summit, the reward is one of the most impressive views in the Alps. Standing at the top, the world seems to open in every direction. The Allgäu Alps spread out below, while the neighboring Lechtal Alps rise to the south. On clear days, the view stretches far beyond what most people expect. To the east, the landscape unfolds across chains of the northern limestone Alps, reaching as far as the Wetterstein and Karwendel ranges. Looking south, an even broader panorama appears. The central Alpine ridge comes into view, sweeping across the High Tauern, the Zillertal Alps, the Stubai Alps, and the Ötztal Alps. On exceptionally clear days, the eye can travel all the way to the Albula Range and the Silvretta Mountains. To the west, the Swiss Alps emerge on the horizon. Peaks like Santis in the Alpstein Range and Todi in the Glarus Alps stand tall, marking the distant edge of the view. And to the north, the land falls away into gentler terrain, stretching past the Swabian Alps toward the Black Forest and the Swabian Jura. It is a view that feels endless, layered, and deeply humbling. Many say the best time to experience this panorama is in autumn or winter. The air is clearer, the humidity lower, and the visibility often sharper than in spring or summer. Snow highlights the shapes of distant peaks, and the light gives the entire scene a quiet, almost unreal clarity. Reaching this viewpoint, however, is not easy. Hochvogel is not a casual hike. The ascent is demanding, requiring endurance, sure footing, and experience in alpine terrain. Steep paths, exposed sections, and long hours on the mountain make it a challenge that appeals especially to serious hikers and mountaineers. For those who succeed, the climb itself becomes part of the reward. Beyond its physical challenge, Hochvogel holds deep cultural meaning in the region. It is one of the most famous summits in the Allgäu Alps and has long been woven into local mountaineering history. Stories of ascents, weather changes, and close calls have been passed down through generations. For many locals, the mountain is not just a landmark, but a symbol of the wild character of the Alps. The villages nearby, such as Hinterstein, serve as gateways to this world. Small guest houses, mountain huts, and winding trails make the area a base for exploration. Visitors come not only for Hochvogel itself, but for the wider alpine experience: quiet valleys, rugged ridges, and a sense of connection to nature that feels increasingly rare. Yet beneath all this beauty lies an uncomfortable truth. Hochvogel is a mountain in danger. For some visitors, this knowledge adds a strange tension to the experience. Standing on the summit, taking in views that span half of Europe, they are also standing on a mountain that may not look the same in the future. What feels solid today may one day change forever. This instability creates a unique dynamic. Hochvogel is both a place of awe and a place of warning. It offers the classic alpine experience, beauty, challenge, silence, and scale, while also reminding us that mountains are not fixed monuments. They are active, changing systems,